Starve the Demon, where we believe in recovery by any means necessary. This is the show where we break the chains of addiction, call out the lies, and shine a light on the way out. I'm your host, Jenna, and today, strap in. We've got a no-nonsense, call it like it is guest, Michael G., author of Navigating Recovery, 12 Steps Simplified, a no-bullshit guide to 12-step success and thriving in recovery. This isn't your sponsor's big book study. Michael cuts straight through the fog, breaking down the 12 steps in a way that's brutally honest, deeply personal, and refreshingly real. Whether you're on day 1, step 4, or year 20, this conversation is for you. Stick around to the end. You might just find out how to get the book for free. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it to all your friends if you still have any. Hi, Michael. Welcome to Starve the Demon.
Hello, Jenna. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
It's an honor to have you. So, Michael, why this book and why now? What pushed you to write Navigating Recovery?
There's a lot of people relapsing, and the program isn't the same way that it used to be. A lot of things have changed. We need to do better. A lot of people believe that relapse is a part of recovery. Relapse is actually a lack of recovery. It doesn't have to happen.
I agree 1,000%. If you fearlessly and thoroughly work the program, you won't relapse. If you don't, you might.
Today, when people relapse, especially with fentanyl and other stuff, they might die. They might not make it back.
I think it's great that you wrote this book, and I think it's great that that's your motivation because that's not getting said enough. Tell us a little about your own recovery story and how it shaped this book.
Well, I drank my first time when I was 9. I smoked pot my first time when I was 11. And I tried living through better chemistry.
And that did not work out for you.
Not too well. By the time I was 18, I was done. But what happened was my best friend really got into cocaine with me. He was a sloppy drunk, and I was afraid that he was going to get caught by his parents. I felt that he was out of control and he needed help. And I was 18 and I was working and he was still 17, and I didn't feel like I wanted a felony conviction and to get in trouble because he was being sloppy.
So that motivated you to take him to get help.
Yes. It started out where we just got high and drank on the weekends, but it was very progressive, usually is.
Right.
At first it was just Friday and Saturday, then it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't gotta tell you, we all know what happens and where it goes.
I'm glad that you said that because then on my channel, we don't have to tell the horror stories. I want to talk about the joy of recovery and why we bother to work the 12 steps, why we bother to go through what it takes to get clean, and that it's worth it on the other side, right?
The steps are what helps. It's what keeps you grounded and what helps you deal with your feelings and emotions. It's a very great tool.
I absolutely agree. The subtitle pulls no punches. What does a no bullshit approach to the 12 steps look like in practice?
It means that you'd be willing to accept responsibility and accountability. You ended up here for a reason. For most of us, we had some really bad ideas. We took some really bad actions, and most of our decisions really sucked. And now we have to take responsibility and accountability for that and stop blaming everybody else and everything else on our circumstances and realize the role that we played in it.
Oh, the beauty of the 4th step. I love that column. My part in it. That's got to be the most enlightening, freeing thing that I got out of the 12 steps was realizing that I'm not a victim. Actually, most of the time I was a perpetrator, but the most important part is that I'm a survivor. And that's what I got out of the 12 steps. How did you decide which part of the 12 steps needed simplifying the most?
Well, the book was written in the 1930s, and our language was a little different back then. Our population, even today, 50% is illiterate. 50% of our population can't read, write, or balance a checking account. So we need to make things very simple.
I didn't know that. Very interesting statistic.
Think about it. All the immigrants we have that come to America.
Yeah,
really,
that's sad, but I get it. That's a really good point. The book was written by professional white men for professional white men, right? Yeah. And over time, Clearly, it saved millions of people's lives that are nowhere near being professional white men. Good on you for figuring that out and doing something about it.
If you look at all the recovery books out there that people have written, they're all very clinical.
You've made it more for the common man, for the everyday person, can make sense to them.
And I want you to feel like you're sitting down and you're having a cup of coffee with me, and we're having a discussion, as opposed to somebody talking down to you and telling you what you must do.
Right.
We don't respond well to that.
No, we don't.
So if I tell you what to do and how to do it, and I make you laugh at the same time, maybe it feels a little better.
I like how you did start it with your own story, because the biggest deal for me, and probably anybody else that's out there that has this demon, you know what you're talking about, that you've been down that road. I've been in situations like when I was in prison, which a lot of my stories start that way. I did the drug program. And none of the people that were trying to help me were addicts. I get that they might understand addiction, but they didn't understand what carpet surfing was. They didn't understand what being stuck in the window was. They didn't understand drinking vanilla extract because it had a high enough alcohol content in it, and it made me feel like they couldn't understand me, and I didn't want to open up to them in the way that's necessary to get that cleansing.
It's better to hear it straight from somebody that's had that experience, somebody that went through the process, made these changes in their own life themselves.
I think that's why sponsorship works so well, because the therapeutic value of one helping another is unparalleled. I think that that's very true.
As long as you have the right sponsor. All sponsors aren't equal, and you got to really find a good fit.
Yes. My recommendation is that your sponsor should have a sponsor, that your sponsor should be well done with the 12 steps, be living in 10, 11, and 12, and have been told by their sponsor that it's okay for them to sponsor. Those are basic criteria.
I go into it a little deeper in the book. Lots of different qualities of sobriety. Quantity sobriety certainly doesn't equal quality sobriety.
Absolutely.
We're all different and we all have different needs. It's important to pick the right sponsor that's going to work for us. For me, and this is just me, things I look for in a sponsor is obviously somebody that has a working knowledge of the big book and the 12 steps, for starters, but I want somebody that walks like they talk. I want somebody that's spiritual. That's important to me. I want somebody that works a good program and is happy and serene.
I get that. When I got my first sponsor, she was so joyful and had a peace about her. It didn't have anything to do with what she looked like or how much money she had or anything like that. They say, find somebody that has what you want. Yeah. And what I wanted was the peace and joy that she had. So that's why I asked her to sponsor me. She was a great choice. That's probably the best advice. Find somebody that has what you want and ask them how they got it, and then do what they tell you.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily easy, but very simple. Is there a specific step you find people consistently misunderstand or struggle with?
Step 1, step 4, step 9. Those are all problem steps and take a lot of people out. A lot of people seem to believe that the 12-step programs are religious programs and they're more spiritual based. But I can understand why they would think that, because there is a lot of talk of God in the literature and in the books. There's some Christian prayers.
That's true.
It means nothing. Nobody can tell you what to believe. You should believe what you want to believe. I myself am definitely more spiritual than I am religious. And I've known over the years many atheists that have done very well in the program that want nothing to do with God, don't believe in God. Some have even come to believe in God.
Sure.
And form a relationship with God. I've also seen people create their own higher power and their own concept of what they would want a God to look like, and that's worked for them. The only thing that you have to believe is that there might be a power out there greater than you, and that's it.
I know what I say. When people want to say that there's not a higher power, I go to the simplest of things, like gravity or our addiction. These are powers greater than us. You know, that group of drunks sitting in that room as a group, that is a power greater than me as an individual. And I can use that as my higher power. One of the things I've been known to tell people is that when we talk about spiritual principles, we're talking about honesty, perseverance, hope. These are things that you don't need a preacher to tell you are going to make your life better. Even an atheist can get behind those principles. Those are the spiritual things that we're talking about. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Even try to stop an ocean wave from rolling in or the sun from shining.
Right.
There's just so many different directions you can go in with this.
I like it. For me, it's easy. I'm not as religious as I am spiritual.
It's easy if you want help. Not everybody wants help. Part of this illness is not wanting help. I'm wanting to be stuck and just wanting to give up and say, fuck it, and get loaded. Because that's what we do.
Because it seems easier in the moment. It's not. It's destructive and chaotic. Our demon wants to kill us. But in the moment, it seems like that's just the easier thing. That familiar pain. It's funny you say that because I was just talking to my husband the other day, and he has been a chronic relapser. So in our time together, I have struggled not only with fighting my demon, but his as well. And he is finally in a place where he has truly had that psychic spiritual experience. And I told him, I am in this moment in life happier. I feel safer and more joyful than I ever have in my entire life. And those are gifts of recovery. That could not have happened if either one of us was still using.
Yeah.
You blend storm and rainbow imagery on the cover. How did those symbols reflect the emotional or spiritual journey of recovery?
We don't choose our circumstances, but we have to choose our own path. Things happen. Life happens, some good, some bad. We have to choose how we react to that, how we deal with that, we process that. Like sobriety, everything is always changing. Things are really great 1 minute, and 10 minutes later, you feel like your world is crashing down around you. And then a half hour later, everything's bright and sunny again.
That's very true. That reminds me, I was just having a conversation with somebody, and he was saying, well, I've learned to say this too shall pass. And I said, well, one better, yeah. This too is already passing. That's the one thing we can count on. Nothing stays. When things are really great, they don't stay great. And when things really suck, they don't stay suck. So if you just ride it out, eventually it'll change.
And feelings aren't facts. And very few things that we feel actually matter. Because especially when you're new.
That's very true.
Especially when you're new, because by next week you'll have a whole new set of problems and you won't even remember what was pissing you off today.
Right. But
I've heard that if you have 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, you're pissing all over today.
My husband says that all the time. You got to be in the now.
I have all of these cliches and sayings. I have an extensive glossary in the back of my book, as well as a bunch of resources, because as we get sober and stay sober, we become aware of lots of other problems that we have, various things, mental illness, or other compulsions.
That's very true. How long have you been sober?
39 years.
39 years. That's longer than a lot of my audience has been alive. It's been my experience, and I'm interested to know if this has also been your experience. The gateway to addiction is trauma. We use drugs and alcohol as the wrong solution to our problems. That drugs and alcohol are not actually the problem. They're the wrong solution. And the 12 steps are a different solution that allows us to deal with our problems without drugs and alcohol.
Yes. There's a doctor, Gabor Maté.
I love him.
He specializes in traumas and things of this nature. And there's some quotes from him in my book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to throw some links in the description also because he is brilliant. I've heard him speak. He always just seems so brilliant and right on.
The book that talks about the traumas is The Hungry Ghost.
Yes. Are you familiar with Buddhism? Just like I personify addiction as a demon, I think of that type of demon as that hungry ghost. But a hungry ghost is a being, an entity, if you will, and it has a great big, huge stomach, but it has a teeny tiny little mouth. So it can never get enough. There's never enough.
Up with a big belly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just how it is. So it can never fill its belly because it has this teeny tiny little mouth, and it's called a hungry ghost. Basically, that's the thing. Just more, 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 never enough, never satisfied. You find that in one of the many realms of hell that you find in Buddhism, if you're familiar with that. But if you're not, I'm not going to give you a whole class on Buddhism. Whenever I hear that, the hungry ghost, that makes me think of addiction. It makes me think of the demon. People ask, what's your drug of choice? Psh, more. What do you got?
What's handy?
Right. I'm a trash can addict. Whatever you put in front of me.
Variety. I don't
Yeah.
discriminate.
I do not discriminate. You sure right. How do you respond to critics that say simplifying the 12 steps risks watering them down?
Simplifying isn't watering anything down. It's making it more clear and more concise.
Easier to understand. You're not changing them.
If you understand what you're reading and what you're hearing, then you can do them with more precision.
And it actually makes them more effective.
Yes.
Did writing this book change how you personally work your program?
No, it's what I do and what I've done and what has worked for me over the years. And it was everything that I would have liked to have received in a book when I first started.
Well, I think it's great. I've already been telling friends and clients and people new to recovery, you've got to read this book because of the way that it makes it simple. I think that it does make it effective.
I would like to see it in every rehab. I'd like to see every newcomer have one.
I think it should be a required reading in junior high. That's when I started messing around, because the things that you talk about in there, it's not just the simplification of the steps themselves and the 12-step programs, but you talk about addiction and the progression. That's the kind of stuff that, maybe if people could get a hold of that before they start actually needing the whole 12-step program. And like you were saying before, with the fentanyl and the drugs that are out there now, it's a dead end. You can't go out anymore and be a stupid kid and make a stupid mistake and live to tell the tale.
For anything you suffer from, this will help somebody that's a video game addict or somebody that has eating disorders. It's universal. It's good for everybody. Anybody that has a problem or an issue and needs to get help, this book will point you in the right direction.
I think you're right, because there's a lot of 12-step groups out there that aren't about drugs and alcohol. They might be about sex or gambling or food,
yes,
or any number of things, even Al-Anon. Our loved ones that suffer because of our demon, they work the same 12 steps, same 12 spiritual principles. What was the hardest truth you had to accept in early recovery?
Basically, that I caused a lot of my own problems and I had to take responsibility for it. I made bad decisions. I took bad actions. And that my circumstances were my fault. There was no cavalry that was going to come and rescue me. No sponsor was going to rescue me. No winning lotto ticket was going to rescue me. I had to take responsibility and do the work.
What does thriving in recovery mean to you beyond just staying clean?
That means that we show up, we do our part, we grow, and we expand mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We make a life for ourselves that we enjoy, that we love.
I agree. I did not get sober to be miserable.
But yet it's amazing how many people we come across, even with long-term sobriety, that are.
My personal opinion is that we're not put on this planet to be miserable. We are supposed to be happy, joyous, and free. Yeah. That's what I get out of recovery. And I never had it before. Before I started using, I had a life filled with chaos and trauma. And then I started using and had more self-inflicted chaos and trauma. So it wasn't until I actually stopped using, got away from the chaos and trauma, and now I'm over 50 and living happy, joyous, and free truly for the first time in my whole life.
How does it feel?
It's awesome. It's beyond words.
Good.
Beyond words. And I want to share that with everybody. That's why I started doing this channel. There's enough things out there about the misery of addiction. This is about the joy of recovery. I want to share my joy.
It's a much better way of life.
Oh, it's so much better. And trust and believe, if I could do it, anybody could do it.
Yeah, it's the difference between living and just existing.
Oh, yeah, I was barely doing that. I couldn't wait to die. I was just waiting to die. It's one myth about 12-step recovery that drives you nuts. And how do you want to bust it?
That people think that it's religious and that you have to be like this Jesus freak.
Jesus
Truly,
can
but
be
it's
your
not
higher
like-
power,
but-
but it doesn't have to be.
But whatever religion you choose is really an outside issue. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And I think too that if there is a God, and I believe there is, I don't think he cares what you call him. I think that God is beyond names, race, gender, any of that. I think that we try to wrap our tiny little human minds around this concept that is beyond us. I don't believe it cares what you call him. Buddha, Allah, Jesus, it doesn't matter.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. You know, I have this theory, and I'd love it if you'd back me up. Religion in a nutshell. Don't be an asshole. Recovery in a nutshell. Don't be a dumbass. If you can get through your day without being either an asshole or a dumbass, you're doing great. What
Sounds
do you
good
think?
to me.
I'm going to get that on a t-shirt.
Another myth is that sobriety has to look a certain way. Recovery has to look a certain way. You can be in recovery and still yell and scream at people in traffic.
Good thing.
You could still eat too many donuts. You could still swear. Doesn't mean that you don't have any recovery and sobriety or quality sobriety.
I like it. That's true.
You don't have to always have on this Captain Serenity type persona.
That's true. Listen, I'm the queen of clean and serene, but let somebody not use a turn signal and see if I don't forget all my spiritual principles. What would you say to the person who's relapsed 6 times and thinks they just are not ever going to get it? What would you say to that person?
I'd say pick yourself back up, brush yourself off, and start over. What you did doesn't matter. It's not important. What's important is what you do next.
Good advice.
To be friendly with somebody that went to 72 different rehabs before he finally could get any quality clean and sobriety time together. 72. You just keep coming and you don't leave before the miracle. You don't give up.
That's right. In the recovery community, we can't give up on people. My own experience is that I wasn't ready till I was ready. And I tried several different things several different times. It finally took me going to rehab, getting a good sponsor, working my steps, going to meetings, and really doing it instead of just saying I was doing it. My husband and I, we used to rip and run together. He stayed using when I got clean. And then he'd have some clean time, and then he'd relapse, and he'd have some clean time, and he'd relapse. And I never gave up on him. And I have seen that miracle happen with him. I have seen the psychic change in him. I have seen the difference in him. And I am confident that if he keeps going, he's going to be just fine. Everything's going to work out and it's going to be great. What would you recommend readers return to regularly?
My simple formula is to go to meetings, look to belong, because it can get very cliquish. Look for the similarities.
Yes.
Stay humble, do your part, do your step work, obviously work with a sponsor, do service, get a commitment, and help others.
Yeah, I find probably the most effective thing in keeping my recovery strong is being of service to others. That helps me to no end.
Make like a whole sobriety team for yourself, because
yes,
you might go to call your sponsor at 3:00 in the morning and he doesn't answer his phone. If you call everybody you know, somebody will answer their phone if you have 10 different people that you're used to talking to regularly.
Your sober network. It's interesting. I had a girl one time. I answered my phone and she was in California. My number was on some list somewhere from some Zoom group that I had been a part of. I was not the first person she called. I was just the first person that answered. When I answered the phone, she was crying. And by the time we hung up, because I had to go to work, she was laughing. And I never heard from her again. I just can only hope that the seeds that I planted with her somehow bloomed. That is what we do. When the phone rings, you answer it and you do your best. What else can you do? But you do it, and you do it every time. If someone reads your book and only takes away one message, what do you hope that message is?
That they don't give up, that they keep trying to do this, never give up. Also, your life isn't ruined, it just feels like it.
That's true.
And most of our colossal fuck ups, they're fixable.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? Another book, a workbook, workshops, anything like that?
It's up to the universe. I'm still not sure.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to see what direction this book goes. And I really think that it's very well written, has the capacity to be a bestseller. I don't know that it will be because it's kind of controversial.
It is a great book. How has it been doing so far? How long has it been out?
Like September or October.
So it's still fairly new.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to do my darndest. You know, my little platform here, I don't have a huge audience yet, but hopefully that's going to grow, and I'm absolutely going to put it out to everybody I can possibly put it out to.
Everybody knows somebody that's been affected by this. I mean, there's an epidemic in this country.
That is true. That's why I started this channel. Addiction touches every life, either the individual or someone. Everybody knows somebody who's got an addiction problem.
And that's why I think that's why I would like to see this on the New York Times bestsellers list.
I would love to see that. I'm going to do everything I can to help make that happen.
How many people could we help if we got this book exposed?
It is such a great book. It's like you took all the thoughts I have in my head and put them down on paper. And I absolutely love it. I really, really do. I'm not just saying that. Where can people find your book and follow your work?
People can find the book on bookstoread.com. They can find the paperback copy available on Amazon. It's on every platform for ebook. Doesn't matter if you want Kindle or if you want Barnes and Noble or if you want Apple, it's everywhere. And it's available in many different countries.
That's awesome.
I'm also possibly working on an audiobook in the future.
That's a really good idea. What is your final message for the demon starvers out there that are still struggling?
Still have to go with, don't give up. Your life isn't ruined. There's a new and better way of life.
There absolutely is.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast for this opportunity. I appreciate you. And it was great talking to you. And I'm glad that I made a new friend that's so like-minded.
Thank you. I agree. I've had a great time. And this is not going to be the only time we talk, you and I predict. Huge thanks to Michael G. for bringing the heat and breaking the 12 steps down without the fluff. You can grab his book, Navigating Recovery, 12 Steps Simplified, anywhere books are sold. Highly recommend if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually start thriving in recovery. As always, you can find the links in the show notes. If this episode hits home, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. This is Starve the Demon, recovery by any means necessary. Keep coming back. We're with you. Thanks for coming.